Let's talk about environmentalism and global warming. Environmentalism and global warming. How should a Christian react toward this? Aren't we supposed to take better care of God's creation? Some liberals, some environmentalists, they might argue, well, God gave creation to man and man should take good care of it. So you should be an environmentalist. Because of global warming that's happening, we got to do what we can to save the earth. And there are verses actually that do show that mankind have to take care of God's creation. In Matthew chapter 6, verse 26 and verse 30, that passage says that God takes care of the lilies of the field and the fowls of the air. He takes care of His creation. And then in Proverbs chapter 12, verse 10, God says that a righteous man should take care of the life of his beast. And if he doesn't take care of the life of his beast, then he's not a really good man. And I'm sure those are just two verses. There are a lot more verses that will show that Christians should take care of God's creation. Now, it is true, we Christians should do that. We've got to take care of the environment, take care of God's creatures and creation. But do you know why we are not like the environmentalists? It's very simple. Because the environmentalists, they waste so much money and time trying to save an environment when the Bible says the environment's going to die out anyway. Now look at Romans 8. Romans chapter 8. Romans chapter 8. They literally spend millions to billions of dollars saving the environment. They do that. They do that. Why waste God's money and time, what He's given to you, on an environment that's going to die out anyway? God says the environment is going to die. He said that. So no matter how much money or time you try to take care of the environment, you're not going to save it. I'm sorry. God's going to blow it all up in the end. Look at Romans chapter 8, verse 20. Verse 20. For the creature was made subject to vanity, not willingly, but by reason of Him who has subjected the same in hope. Because the creature itself also shall be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of the children of God. For we know that the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain together until now. Notice right here, all of creation groan, they're in pain. And verse 20, they're subject to vanity. See, it will. They will all fade away. Can I tell you something? Creation can never be saved by your own hand. It has to be saved by God's hand. Because in verse 21, God says He will deliver it. You see that? This is why we're not the environmentalists. You know why? Because environmentalists don't trust in God to save His environment. They trust themselves. We're different from those people. Because we know that no matter how much we put our own hand into it, the environment will die. That's what God says. God says that He Himself will save the environment, not you. And He's going to do that in the end times. He will. Look at Ephesians 5. Ephesians 5. Ephesians 5. So, why are we not like the environmentalists? Because why waste hours forming up an organization, a club, arguing for saving Mother Earth, saving vegetation, animal life, looking up every extinct species and saving them, spending millions to billions of dollars trying to save up energy and the resources of the world? Why spend all your money and time on that when that money and time could have been used wisely for the glory of God, winning souls, helping out your own family members, etc.? Why use it on something that's going to be pointless and a waste of money and time anyways? Because all that is going to turn to dust. The environment's going to die out. So I'm sorry, no matter how many... There may be good environmentalists who have spent literally hours or all their life as an environmentalist, spend literally thousands of dollars. But friend, you wasted your time and money. See? You could have used that time and money for the glory of God rather than that. Look at Ephesians 5, verse 16. Redeeming the time. Why? Because the days are evil. You see that? Days are evil. So you got to learn to save your time wisely. Go to 2 Corinthians 9. 2 Corinthians 9. 2 Corinthians 9. We'll look at verse 7. 2 Corinthians 9, verse 7. Notice that God, He wants you to use your money wisely for Him. You don't waste it on something pointless. 2 Corinthians 9, verse 7. Every man according as he purposeth in his heart, so let him give, not grudgingly or of necessity, for God loveth a cheerful giver. See, God wants you to spend your money for Him. Verse 9, as it is written, He hath dispersed abroad, He hath given to the poor, His righteousness remaineth forever. You see that? If you give money to God's work and ministry, that work is going to last forever. Don't use that money for an environment that won't last forever. Look at verse 12 through 13. For the administration of this service not only supplieth the want of the saints, but is abundant by many thanksgiving unto God, whilst by the experiment of this ministration they glorify God for your professed subjection unto the gospel of Christ, and for your liberal distribution unto them and unto all men. See that money used for winning lost souls, rather than saving dumb animals that are going to die out anyway. All right, now look at Matthew 24. Matthew 24. Well, what if the world falls apart? What if the apocalypse happens because we fail to take care of the environment? Hey, can I tell you something? You don't have to worry about the environment falling apart. You know why? Because that's what the tribulation is for. We're going to be raptured out of it. Right. So don't worry about the environment falling apart. That's not going to happen until the tribulation. See, so don't get in a panic and say, oh, we're going to go through a famine, pestilence, and global catastrophes. It's going to be the end of the world. No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen until the tribulation. Right. This is why I don't believe in this global warming kick. You know why? We'll be fine. Okay? It's not going to happen until the tribulation. Look at Matthew 24, verse 7. Matthew 24, we'll look at verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines, and pestilences, and earthquakes in divers places. Look at this chaos occurs in verse 21. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world, to this time, no, nor ever shall be. You see, all of the environment falling apart will occur at the tribulation. Also go to Genesis 9. Genesis 9. Genesis chapter 9. You know why I don't believe in global warming? It's very simple. God said that He will never send a worldwide flood ever again. You know what global warmers argue? They argue that because global warming is spreading so much with the rise of carbon and all that, that pretty soon it's going to melt up all the ice, and then the ice is going to drown out the whole world. Guess what? I know they're wrong about that. And even if they can pull up scientific data about carbon increasing. That's fine with me. I don't care. You know why? Because God promised He will never drown out the world. Right. So He knows when it's going to get to the danger point of drowning out the whole world. Right. So even if carbon increases, God knows when to put His hand and save the world. That's right. Go to Genesis 9. Verse 15, Genesis 9, verse 15. And I will remember my covenant. That's God's covenant. See, He made a promise. Otherwise, He's going to have to be a liar. Which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. So God made a covenant with everyone in this environment. He made a covenant with the environment. What is His covenant with the environment? And the water shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. And His covenant is established by verse 16 and 17, the rainbow. You see that? Otherwise, God's a liar. He made a covenant with the environment. So don't worry, okay, about the environment, global warming, we're going to drown and all that. Don't worry. God made a covenant with the environment. I'm not going to drown the whole world. Exactly. See? Okay. Let's look at verse 2 through 3. Verses 2 through 3. Now, don't get me wrong. So I agree. I acknowledge those verses, all right? I'm not an animal beater, and I'm not a person who deliberately litters all over the floor, okay? I'm not that type of person. I believe in taking care of God's creation. However, although that is true, it is also true I can use the environment to my own benefit, to my own benefit. That I can use it at my own benefit with how I want it. Look at Genesis 9 verse 2. That's why God gave you this world. Why? To use. Alright? Look at Genesis 9 verse 2. And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every fowl of the air, upon all that moveth upon the earth, and upon all the fishes of the sea. Into your hand are they delivered. See that? The creatures of this world are in our hands. Verse 3. Every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you. Even as the green herb have I given you all things. Verse 3. All these animals are for our disposal to eat. And the second part of verse 3. All of the nature, the plants, vegetation is at our disposal as well. So yes, it is true that we have to take care of God's creation, but at the same time, we can use God's creation, all right? We don't take care of we're not the environmentalists where we take so much care of God's creation that we idolize it and we don't even use it for our own benefit. That's why some environmentalists, they do the crazy notion of promoting their ideals, starting up rallies saying, don't cut down the trees, and all that. Don't kill the cows and all that kind of stuff. I mean, the environment are used for what we can use, all right? All right, look at Matthew 7. Matthew 7. Matthew 7. By the way, you have to think about this, Mr. Environmentalist. Don't you think that it's very hypocritical, Mr. Environmentalist, that you accuse us for eating meat, cutting down trees, but at the same time, you're wearing shoes? How many cows have to die to give you those shoes? Why do you have a roof over your head? You see that? Isn't that pretty hypocritical? See, that is very hypocritical of environmentalists, where they say, you're killing all the cows, so don't eat the cows. You're killing all the trees, so don't use the trees for your buildings, all right? Then why do you have a roof over your head? Why do you have animal skins that you wear? That's very hypocritical. Go to Matthew chapter 7, verse 1. Matthew chapter 7, verse 1. Judge not, that ye be not judged. They use that line on us Christians, but that's my line on them. Why do you judge me for something when you yourself are doing it? For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. And with what measure ye mete, ye shall be measured to you again. And why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye? Cutting down the trees, using that for your own benefit. But considerest not the beam that is in thine own eye. See, you environmentalists are using that too. Or how wilt thou say to thy brother, let me pull out the mote out of thine eye, and behold, a beam is in thine own eye? If every environmentalist have clothes on their back and a roof over their head, they're the biggest hypocrites, because they themselves have used up the resources of this world as well. They slaughtered animals, they killed down trees to get what they need to. You see that? So it's very hypocritical to say that. Who is the final authority to say what should be the borderline to use or save environmental resources? When you say, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. See, there's no borderline then, okay? What about the desk, okay? Should we switch wooden desks to metal desks? What about the houses? What about the shoes we're wearing? See, what's going to be the borderline, see? So, the thing is this. Use the environment. God gave it to you to use. Don't abuse it. Don't beat up animals, etc. But use it because God gave it for you to use. All right? So this is what God says about environmentalism and global warming. Don't think about those, sure, poor animals, poor nature. Don't worry about it. That's in God's control. He knows how to take care of them. And God says He will rescue them all in the end. All right?